In this next video, our goal is going to be to take the API or take all the code that we have and to start making it a little bit easier to maintain, a little bit more organized, and just a little bit more in sync with the rest of the way we've been designing our code. So in the past, we've been setting up all of our handlers inside of this controllers package. And we always have a controller type of some sort, so that we've got this galleries here, which is a struct, and it has all the views and all the services and stuff that we might need inside of this. And then we have methods on here that we're using to handle these web requests. So we want to do the same thing with, with the OAuth stuff, so we sort of continue following that same design pattern. We're going to start by creating a new file called oauths.go inside of our controllers package. In this file, what we're going to do is basically define something very similar to what we've been doing in the past. It's going to be part of the package controllers. And then we're going to define the type OAuths. This type is where we're going to attach our methods, our OAuth specific methods, and they're going to be our handler methods, just like we did with all of our other controllers. You can look here at the users. It's the same idea as what we're going to be doing. So we can go ahead and copy this code actually to simplify setting up some of this. Then we're going to go ahead and just multi-select to clean this up and make it OAuths. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go through this and figure out which variables we don't need that we just sort of copy pasted. Most of this is going to actually change, but it's nice just to sometimes copy paste it just in case we need to reuse some of them. We might eventually add some views like you're seeing here, but for now we don't need any views, so we're definitely going to delete all those. So from here, our goal is going to be to add different methods to our OAuth type to replace those closures that we created in main.go when we were doing that experimental stage. So we're going to start by creating the Dropbox connect function, which is going to replace the just the connect closure that we created before. So this is going to be an HTTP handler, and we can actually copy all of the code from our closure right over here, so we don't have to rewrite it all. You can see that this clearly isn't going to compile. It's looking to use this dbxOAuth variable, which isn't there. So we need to find a way to make that available. Well, if you look here, the dbxOauth is an oauth2.config. So what we need to do is add this oauth2 config to our new OAuths and allow somebody to pass one in. Now that we have the oauth2 config being passed into our new OAuths function, we need to make sure that we add it to our struct so that we have access to it, throughout the rest of our code. Now that we have the Dropbox config variable available, we can come down to Dropbox Connect and we can actually update it to use that variable or that field from the OAuths type, and that'll keep our code from erroring. So before we move forward, I think it's important to discuss that this is very Dropbox specific. You'll see that we have this Dropbox Connect method, and if we wanted to add GitHub or GitLab or anything like that, all of this code here is going to need duplicated. And we're going to look at ways to pull that out and make this a little bit more generic. And that's going to be in the next video. But for now, I think it's important to just focus on getting something working. So that's where we're going to be looking for the rest of this video. So our next step in making this all work is to go back to main.go. And we're going to grab this function here for the callback. And we're going to turn this into a method. So we'll come down here, we're going to call this func, it's going to be Dropbox callback. And you can see here that I put func here. But it's going to be, again, very similar to Dropbox Connect. We just have to come through here and clean up the parts that are erroring. Here we need to use the OAuth service, which we called OS. And I think we have a couple of cases in here where we have the OAuth service needs replaced. So we'll just go find the rest of those. All right, so I think that's all of them. At this point, we are still using the auth service. We're just getting it from the auth type that this is a method on. And now that we have this method defined, we can actually come back to main.go. So let's go ahead and let's grab the the test function that we have and let's pull that into a method too. We're going to call this one Dropbox test, and it's not going to stay long term, but I like to have it for now because it's handy. Again, we're going to have to go through here and clean up, make this use the method variables and method fields that we have instead of the ones that we declared in the package. Okay, so aside from the the changes we made to access the data, this is all pretty much the same code we had in our main.go here. You can look through it; it's going to be roughly the same. So what we need to do next is we need to find a way to set up this OAuth type that we have here. We need to instantiate it inside of main.go. So we're going to come up here and we need to find, there they are, our controllers, and we're going to go ahead and instantiate this OAuth controller. So this requires the OAuth service, so services.oauth, and then we also need to pass in this dbx OAuth that we created. So let's copy it and we'll bring it up. So now we can pass in this dbx OAuth variable. And now we should be able to use this OAuth controller throughout the rest of our code to do the routing instead of these closures that we created. So we can delete the closures. So this is going to become OAuthc.connect. Dropbox connect. And we don't need to call this method. We just want to pass the actual method in here. Same thing here for the callback. We're going to delete all of this closure. And then this will become OAuthc.Dropbox callback. And then lastly, the same thing for the test function. We'll delete all this and we'll change this to OAuthc.Dropbox test. Okay, so that should be all of it that we needed to set up our routes to use the new controller that we created. Now we can move these if you want to. I'm going to move mine down, but you don't have to. I just am sort of trying to arrange mine a little bit better. I like to keep my top routes, open to things like the root path and log out, log in. Okay, so we've got all of that. I think it's important to just verify that our code works at this point. So we're going to go ahead and just go run star.go. And you'll see that expanded in config and main. It's fine if it does that. And we can come back here and I'm going to delete this, but if I refresh on this page, it seems to be working. I can take this path to empty and you'll see that I'm seeing, the base folder. So all of our code appears to be working and I can continue to test all of these different things. Connect Dropbox, takes me here, allow me to connect. All of that appears to be working exactly like it was. So we haven't broken our code, we've just refactored it a bit. So that's all we're going to do in this video, but in the next video I do want to explore ways that we can make this a little more generic. So specifically, if you look at these routes, and then you come down here and look, you'll see that we've got IDs inside of our galleries route. It'd be kind of nice if we could sort of replace this Dropbox with a more generic an OAuth flow that we could say, all right, as long as we have a service registered for how to sort of handle OAuth for Dropbox or Google or whatever, we could plug and play these in and just have this part of the URL change and have that dictate what code it uses over here, instead of having a bunch of functions like Dropbox callback and Google callback and GitHub callback, because we don't want to have to rewrite that code over and over again. So that's what we're going to sort of look at next, is how to take this part of it and make it generic enough that we can use it, for all of our different OAuth types, even though we're not going to be actually implementing any of them in this course. It'll give you an idea of how to take code that you have and refactor it and adapt it over time to be a little bit more robust and to handle these situations a little bit better.